Today's episode of the Botch Pod is brought to you by our new favorite fantasy app called Draft. Here's how it works. It's a season-long best ball format. Your best players get automatically selected and you'll get the best score. Today's episode of the Botch Pod is brought to you by our new favorite fantasy app. You can draft a team anytime you want, and the best part is you can play for cold hard cash. Leagues start from $3, so there's a league for everybody. Just search Draft in the App Store or go to playdraft.com and come play free with promo code FakePigSkin. For a limited time only, all new players get a free entry into the $3 best ball draft when you make your first deposit, but you have to use our promo code FakePigSkin. Let's go, guys.
Welcome to the Botch Pod Sunday Night Roundtable presented by FakePigSkin.com. We are at halftime in the Monday Night Football game, and we have a great game going on there between the Raiders and the Washington R-Words. We'll get to that in a minute, but first let me introduce you to our roundtable participants tonight. I'm Josh Bennett, and I'm joined by my Botch Pod co-host, Michael Vincent. What's up, Mike?
What's going on, guys? How you doing? Big day for the Bears in Chicago. The Cubs just clinched at least a tie of the division. I am lit tonight.
Hell yeah. Sounds good. We're also joined by our friend Andrew Frechette from the Dynasty Life podcast. What's up, Andrew?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be on. Hopefully this isn't too much of a botch like everything else we do.
Yeah, it's a botch on a weekly basis. And now we're going to start recording 2 podcasts a week. So it's going to be a botch twice a week. So that's great. And finally, we're joined by Sam Feldman. Okay, let's get started. First, I want to talk about –
Thanks for having me, Josh.
I'm just kidding. So what's up, Sam?
Hey,
I tried to cut you. What's up?
I see you tried to cut me off, and I would like to have us make an official botched bet on this podcast.
Talk louder, Sam.
In honor of Georgia, Tennessee, and my inability to speak loud enough, I would love that Josh and I make a botched bet on the Georgia, Tennessee upcoming game this week on air.
Okay, what did you have in mind?
I have nothing in mind yet, but we'll figure it out.
Okay.
Who's going to win?
Yeah, I agree with you. Okay, the self-proclaimed face of our podcast, Zach Van Kirk, couldn't make it tonight. So thoughts and prayers with Zach, but he'll be here for the Wednesday show.
I think he purposely missed out because he wanted to see Amari Cooper put up that big stat line in the first half of I think he's got one catch and 2 drops, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, so a pretty typical day for Amari. So
pretty much.
Al Michaels said that. That was hilarious.
I did hear it. Yeah,
that was great. Okay, let's get started with the round table. Mike, I'm going to come to you first. Thursday Night Football, we had the Rams take on the 49ers in a game where both teams combined for 80 points. Did you have any major takeaways from that game?
You know what? It's hard for me to say. I don't have many players from the Rams or the 49ers. I'm glad that Todd Gurley is finally paying dividends for people who have stuck by him through his ups and downs the last 2 years. You know, they did play the Niners, so it's kind of hard to really tell where they are. The 2 good games he's had all 3 good games, but the 2 games he's had at home, they were against subpar teams. But he did well. Sammy Watkins did well. Pierre Garçon caught 7 passes. So Carlos Hyde. So all these guys that everyone sort of has casted off, they all came together in one big game. Is that something that's going to happen all the time, or is it just going to happen when the Rams and the Niners play each other 2 times a year? I don't know. But if it's like that, people kept saying, oh, what a great football game. It was probably the worst football game. But I think what people really are trying to say is, wow, that's a lot of fantasy points, and that's a lot of draft capital finally giving a return on investment. If you had a Rams D or the Niners D, you got screwed. Jared Goff did well. Brian Hoyer did well. But is that something that's sustainable? You got to wait till they play an actual team. I mean, look what San Francisco did against Seattle. They couldn't move the ball. The Rams have played 3 straight teams with bad defenses. Maybe that's just what's going to end up happening. The point is, if the kind of football we want to see is what we saw on Thursday, then I'm all for shootouts. I don't have any of those players either, so I can't really even say I was excited because I don't draft Watkins or Hyde or Garcon. But to those who did, congratulations.
Yeah, man, they balled out. Like, incredible game for fantasy football, especially on a Thursday. And it was the most entertaining football game that we've had on Thursday night football in a long time. I know both these teams aren't very good overall, but it was fun to watch and watch everyone stack fantasy points. Andrew, to you, my friend. Sunday morning football across the pond had the Jags and the Ravens in a game where the Jags just pretty much wiped the floor with Baltimore, 44-7. What did you think about that beatdown, Andrew?
So, I mean, for me, I mean, it was just a terrible game. I was shocked to see Bortles put up 4 touchdowns against this Baltimore defense that has looked over the first 2 weeks impenetrable. But I mean, he balled out, especially without Allen Robinson. No one really kind of went off outside of Mercedes Lewis, which is probably one guy that people probably forgot even played for the Jaguars. So can't really. There's a lot of fantasy points that went around on many people's rosters unless you're playing best ball. I can't imagine many people started Bortles. No one started Mercedes Lewis. Fournette at least scored a touchdown. On the Baltimore side, everyone was terrible. I would say the biggest disappointment for most people would be Buck Allen. He was just atrocious. He was saved by solid 5 catches for 13 yards. Did nothing in the rushing game. Alex Collins actually performed like a beast for 9 carries and 80 yards, which is shocking to say considering he was cut by the Seahawks. So one thing I do want to say, touching real quick on the Thursday night game, is for me, I typically hate the Thursday night game, especially if I do something like DraftKings or whatever. But one thing I do like to do in my lineups is if I have no interest in the game, is I typically like to plug in a guy in one of my lineups at least so I have a reason to watch. So I had a few better options than Garcon. But I plugged him in, so it was nice to see that. Like Mike said, though, I have no other shares of Garcon outside of that one. I own Watkins, Hyde, all those guys nowhere. But it was nice. I mean, Josh's guy is Gurley, so it's nice to see Gurley kind of get back on the right track right there, even though I'm not a big fan. So it's fun to see. It definitely, I agree with Mike. I mean, it wasn't great football if you're looking for, what truly, people would consider great football. But from a fantasy perspective, you can't really ask for much more. Just, those kind of guys, if one guy you played against owns 1 or 2 of those guys, I mean, that's just a great start to the week. So,
and
kind of where I'm at.
Mercedes Lewis was owned in 0.6%, 0.9% of leagues and started in 0.6% of leagues. So that's that. Yeah, if you played him, congratulations.
And it was likely those 0.6 were likely the people who drafted a team, set a starting lineup, and forgot they play fantasy football. So I wonder what like the true starting lineup is. But it's always fun to see something like that happen. It means nothing for us. So it's a London game. Honestly, I don't even know what to expect. Last year I loved watching it because Allen Robinson was there, and I didn't even wake up for it this year. So.
Right. You mentioned Todd Gurley, and the guy is the running back 1 through 3 weeks in fantasy football, but he faces an incredibly difficult schedule. If you're a Gurley owner, are you selling high right now, or are you going with the fact that he's young and that you're going to have a lot of production from him over the next few years?
So a lot of us, especially on this, are big dynasty guys. I was definitely way off Gurley. It was awesome to see him have that type of game. He was super involved in the pass game, which is awesome to see. It's one of my biggest things. I hate running backs that aren't involved in the pass game. It was awesome to see him involved there. In a redraft setting, sure, I'll sell because I'm sure there's a lot of people. And that's my biggest thing. If you see a guy like that go off on national television, that there's really not a better time to sell because everyone else saw what you were seeing.
Yeah,
and especially with his upcoming schedule. And I'm totally not fully sold on the offense in the short term. I do think McVay in the long term can help Goff develop as a better quarterback. But for redraft purposes, he's totally a sell. I'm sure you could get a haul for him at this point because week to week recency bias is such a big thing that you can see players that have a down week, and then you could capitalize. So
Same goes with Watkins, I think. Like,
for sure.
All those
definitely, definitely.
For sure.
One of the hardest. Gurley, Hyde, all of them.
Watkins is in the same boat. One of the toughest schedules against opposing cornerbacks coming up for wide receivers. So I'm on board with selling Watkins and Gurley in redraft. Both, though, was good to see a performance like that for dynasty purposes. I'm totally on board.
If I can interject for 1 second on Gurley.
No.
He's faced the Colts, and while they are a horrible dumpster fire of a team, they do have a good run defense. I don't remember his stat line, but he's put up the numbers he's put up while facing even a good run defense in them in week 1. He's worth believing in.
Well said, Sam. Well said. Okay, now it's the Sam's turn. Don't fuck this up, Sam. Your Falcons beat your Lions in the final second as a Golden Tate touchdown was called back due to his knee hitting the ground before he crossed the plane. Falcons are 3-0. Do you think they can make a repeat Super Bowl appearance, or will they blow a 28-3 lead?
Well, they almost blew a 28-3 lead today with Matt Ryan really fucking it up. That wasn't the point.
Sam was like, I watched none of the game, but they're still my favorite team.
Either way, right now, Falcons definitely are in a good position. However, while it's not going to affect you unless you're in an IDP league, which I doubt you're in, Vic Beasley actually is going to be a big loss for the Falcons.
All right, so on to Mike.
Hey. Go ahead, Sam.
And for opposing offenses, actually him being out will help them playing against the Falcons. It helps make your quarterback more startable, helps make those wide receivers actually more startable because your quarterback should be better off. The Falcons should be in a good position. They've got at least a game up on every team in the league, or in their division, I should say, after the Saints out of nowhere destroyed the Panthers today. So I think we could see a repeat. Seattle doesn't look the same. Green Bay, I mean, they almost shit the bed against Cincinnati. They're in a good position. The NFC is trash. We all know that it's going to be most likely Patriots-Falcons again, the way the Patriots are going. But great teams, or very good teams, at least have to find ways to win, even when they play shitty, just like the Patriots did today. The Falcons did as well when Golden Tate took a knee. So there's a good chance.
Oh, wow. Cool. Well done, sir.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Have you thought of our bet yet?
I want to, make you go through some sort of humiliation, be it wearing some Georgia stuff or an AV for a week. I don't know if you could handle it, so I gotta know whether or not you can.
I can handle an AV.
Okay.
Okay, we'll talk
figure
about it
out
later.
Something.
Okay. Let's get to some notable player performances for the week. We've already talked about Todd Gurley. How about our boy Stephon Diggs?
Guys, did you just see that touchdown?
Which one?
Cousins just heaved one. I don't know who number 18
that
is.
Dotson? That's Josh Dotson.
Dotson. Oh my! It's a huge day for Josh guys. Dotson, Diggs, Kamara. Holy shit!
Dotson's not one of my guys.
Holy shit! Josh Dotson lives matter.
His name is Josh.
That's true. Okay, you're right. Wow.
The Raiders are trash.
Raiders are dead. Zach's Raiders.
Josh Dotson.
They're dropping the ball just like Amari and Zach not being on here, dropping the ball as well.
Yeah, that is too bad that he's not here. Oh, man. Aaron Sproles broke his arm.
What was his excuse this week?
Something family or whatever.
Oh.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Anyway, back to notable players. Go ahead, Josh.
Welcome to the Botch Pod. We go off on tangents, and we have a trouble staying on pace.
So I sat Stephon Diggs for Samaje Perine, and I'm a piece of shit.
You are trash.
Yeah, I mean, that Tampa Bay elite defense fucking killed it today. I'm pretty proud of myself.
Ugh, it was rough to watch. I benched him in my home league as well. He dropped 33 points sitting on my bench. It's the worst.
Yep. It's fun.
But, hey, is Stephon Diggs a top 5 receiver in the NFL?
No, not yet.
Top 10?
No,
yes.
I'll let you argue 10, it in there.
No, top 5.
No, that's bias. That's recency bias. Come on.
No, it's not.
Top 10 in Dynasty? Top 10 this year? Or what?
I think you can argue it in there. I mean, at the same point, you can argue it out of there, too.
Top 10, he was drafted where Amari Cooper was, you're telling me you wouldn't have him as a top 10 wide receiver?
Why? What has he done that's proven him as a top 5?
I said top 10. I never said he's top 5.
But even so,
if he was drafted where Amari Cooper was as a first rounder, you're telling me you would not guarantee that he'd be a top 10? It's a draft capital bias.
Like 1,000 yards every year he's been in the NFL plus 80 catches. Diggs hasn't done that.
Amari Cooper is a good NFL player, but fantasy, he's just a frustrating. And it's not just that. He's frustrating, but he's also drafted way too high for where he is right now in his career. He's raw, and he's not the guy. And he's being drafted, and people are still taking him in the top 2 rounds of startups and still expecting him to perform like a top 15 receiver.
Mike, can I ask you to define why you're calling him raw? Because he's
young, dude. He still has to develop.
No, I understand.
He's still a kid.
He has a multitude of drops.
He has a lot of drops.
But his pros coming into the league, I know we're going back a few years now, where his route running, everything that was the complete opposite of raw. So now he's gone backward?
It's not. I don't think that raw is like he's saying that he's like a player who came out of college and is just like he's an athletic freak. But he's maybe the way he used raw was wrong. But he's still like 23 years old. He's not even close to his prime.
He's not running the whole route tree. He's not. There's things that he's not.
What he's done so far, though, is so impressive considering a prime is around like the age 26, 27, where you're just going to beast for like the next like 3 years. What he's done is just massive. Yeah, his floor is where he's at, and his ceiling could just be massive. We don't know just because like he's so young, and I think people are still unsure about what Carr is. I think there's a wide spectrum of is Carr an elite quarterback, or is he just your average quarterback? Last year he had an awesome year, but I still think that we're still waiting to see kind of where he's at. And plus Crabtree is, in my opinion, still like the guy there until Cooper can really emerge. And a lot of people use that 3-year breakout as this year. And unfortunately it's only been 2.5 weeks and we haven't seen that yet from Cooper. So
right. I agree.
It's also
but I want to go back to
as their one.
I want to go back to what Sam said though. And when I asked if Stephon Diggs was a top 5 wide receiver, and Sam said if Diggs was drafted where Amari Cooper was, would we think that Diggs was a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL? If he was drafted,
guaranteed top 10. I don't think he's a top 5. I want to make that clear.
Okay.
I guarantee that the thought would be in the top 10.
And I don't want to use that whole.
There would be no debate either. There would be no debate, right?
His quarterback situation is not up for debate because you got half the guy. You got Sammy Watkins that doesn't have a good quarterback situation. You can argue that Odell Beckham Jr. doesn't have a great quarterback situation. It's all about stability. And Diggs has had to deal with Bradford being hurt. Now he's got Case Keenum.
Bridgewater, don't forget about that.
I don't think Bridgewater comes back to Minnesota. I think they roll with Bradford, but that's a different.
Whether or not he does, though, that's still 3 quarterbacks in 3 years?
Yeah. Right. So Diggs at home this year, 15 catches, 266 yards and 4 touchdowns. Diggs on the road, 2 catches, 27 yards, and that was with a new quarterback. Just like with Hilton. Hilton didn't do well with Brissett week 2, and he killed it this week. So
he didn't do good with Tulsi in week 1 either.
That's what I mean. I mean, once you got a new quarterback, it's taking a while to acclimate. Josh, to your point about breakouts today, I'd want to expand on how Brandon Cooks finally put up some numbers.
That was my next thing. I was going to talk about Tom Brady being the number 1 scoring quarterback this week in fantasy, and Brandon Cooks finally have his show and party.
Yeah. I mean, Cooks, granted, it was a lot of heaves and throws. I mean, I think 3 of his catches were, I think he had the 44-yarder and he had the 2 long touchdowns. So it's still a lot of big plays for him. But if Brady feels comfortable enough to just throw it up there, and I know he was trying to do it the first couple weeks to him too, and they weren't connecting. I know they had a couple pass interferences the first week. But if Brady found that guy to throw deep to, the NFL, I mean, it's just going to open things up for Hogan, who had 2 touchdowns. Gronkowski had a touchdown. I mean, I get it. Edelman's his guy, but they do a great job of prepping guys to take over roles. And if Cooks is the new deep ball threat there, then so be it. And then it's gonna work out fine for him. 2 touchdowns, 5 catches on 7 targets, and then Brady now week 3. He's 1 turnover is a fumble, but he's got 8 touchdowns and no interceptions. He's 40, guys. Carolina next week. Drew Brees went crazy on them today. Then he's got Tampa, the Jets, the Falcons, and then the Chargers before the bye week. I mean, that is a sick fantasy schedule for Brady and the Patriots coming up.
Right.
I thought he was dead. Shouldn't he have retired after week 1?
Yeah, Patriots were dead. He had no touchdowns week 1, and
shouldn't they?
Did anybody see the Patriots game? Because I didn't. I'm curious what the Hogan touchdowns were on in terms of routes.
Deep passes.
They were deep. They were just deep corner routes.
Okay. And he was wide open on both catches.
Yeah,
and wide open. The Cooks one, it was like it almost looked like it was not a slant, but it was like a post off. And then the second one was just beast.
It's just interesting to wonder because you look at it. They got Gronk, they got Cooks, they got Hogan. All three are deep threats. You know, does Cooks end up taking the underneath of all the three because of just who he is?
Yeah, I mean they were a couple plays away from losing though too. I mean you got to think about that. Whatever Brady's doing, I mean they're still keeping teams in games. So something, you know, whether it's the running game that isn't going. I mean Gillislee can't get a yard if his life depends on it.
Burkhead was out, right?
Burkhead was out. James White was not as effective as he's been. He's on the field the most out of the Patriots running backs, but they're not. If they're just throwing the ball 40 times a game, it's going to be hard to keep that up, especially when it gets colder out. So they better develop a running game.
I'd say be looking out for Burkhead to come out of nowhere then, just because he's out right now. But if Gillislee doesn't perform, that's somebody who, you know, the Patriot way. If you're doing good, they'll put you in, and they'll forget about whoever's doing bad.
That's my strategy with the Patriots backfield. I avoid them, all of them completely.
I want nothing to do with any of them. I don't even want Gillislee.
As soon as go ahead. What?
Yeah, I was just gonna say I would have sold Gillislee week 1. I mean, 3 touchdowns. Get out of my face with that. I mean,
exactly. As soon as they blow up,
four running backs.
Yeah.
Well,
like I don't care about Burkhead. Yeah, he's gonna have a good game. He had an awesome game last week. I don't even know when he got hurt. And even if, like, the thing is, James White is so impressive. Deion Lewis still gets his looks. Gillislee will come in there and rush for 20 yards and 3 touchdowns. I just want literally nothing to do with that ever.
It feels like Lewis is there to be their special teamer right now, though. But
he's still playing. That's the point.
I'm not saying he's not playing, but that still takes away a few snaps. Oh, what? You spell somebody a few snaps. Unless you truly earn more playtime, it seems like he's there to be their special teamer. It feels like Burkhead's there to have what could become what was either the blunt roll or a blunt roll and something else.
That is ridiculous to say.
Yeah, so today, James White, 31 snaps, Gillislee 21, and Lewis 12 out of 64 snaps. So nobody got 50%, and White led the team. And that's just because White's the best. White's the route runner, too. White is essentially the safety valve like Edelman was. And if Amendola doesn't play today, I'm sure White gets more looks again. Like he got 8 catches last week.
Well, they could put White also in the slot depending on who is or isn't available if they have to, and they'll have 2 running backs on the field. But White will be a wide receiver in that case.
That's fine, but why would you ever bank on that? Why would you ever be like, I think
I'm not saying to bank on it. Don't take it that way. But I'm saying if you're looking at a 1-week spot start, if you see Amendola out, then White becomes somebody who you can actually target that week depending on.
Then you have to have that argument over any pass catching running back. Like you're assuming that like a Chris Thompson, a Shane Vereen, like those, you can't put them in your lineup hoping of any real usage. But I think it's even worse with the Patriots because they will literally just do whatever every week.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I remember last year there was weeks where Blunt they were favored by like 14 points, and everyone was like, "All right, this is a Blunt week," and then they'd go out and they'd throw 15 passes to Deion Lewis, and you'd be like, "Oh, okay, well, fuck me then."
Right. Is Hogan a safe start yet, or is he a
he's killing
wide
it.
receiver 3?
I think he's fine.
So Hogan, Cooks, Gronk starting every week with Brady in your fantasy lineups.
I'm fine with Hogan. I think I think the week 1 was kind of a weird thing. He's playing out of the slot. That's where Edelman, he killed it. I love Hogan. I have no problem with playing him weekly.
Right.
Penn State, lacrosse.
There it is. All right, let's move on. 2 more running backs to talk about before we get to our final thoughts. The first one is Jordan Howard. After losing a lot of touches to Tyreek Cohen and a lot of production to him in the first 2 weeks, he came out today and had a very strong performance. Is Jordan Howard back, or is this going to be a frustrating committee as the season goes on? I'll start with you, Mike.
Well, right now, the Bears have maybe the worst receiving core in the NFL out of actual wide receivers. Marcus Wheaton, Kendall Wright, Deontay Thompson. They're not good. Cameron Meredith is out for the season. Kevin White's out for the season. They cut Victor Cruz. They obviously they let Alshon Jeffrey go to free agency. Their best two players on offense are Jordan Howard and Tariq Cohen. And I think there's enough out there for both of them, especially if they don't have a real tight end or any real receivers that are – I mean, they both scored in overtime. Think about how dynamic they were. One of them scores a touchdown, it gets taken back. The other one then scores a touchdown. But they led the team. I can pull it up right now. I mean, Jordan Howard had 23 carries, and he had 5 catches. That's 28 touches. Tariq Cohen had 16 touches, 12 carries, and 4 receptions. So, I mean, they're getting usage. They're just being put in a situation where they're all going to be used in a way where they might not be all out of the backfield. But if they're used as dynamically as they were against the Falcons, and then use them again the way they did with the Steelers, I mean, that's worth keeping both. It's worth maybe putting a flyer on both of them. Obviously, if you have them both, you can't really start them both. But it's coming to that point where it's almost like the Devontae Freeman, Tevin Coleman situation where you could start them both, and you might get enough usage out of both of them to justify putting them both in your lineup. And obviously, if one goes down, the other is an undisputed workhorse, and he's going to get you. I mean, they combined for 40 touches today, and that's ridiculous. On a 90-degree day in Chicago against a Steelers defense that up until this week was, obviously they played Case Keenum and the Browns the first 2 weeks, but I mean, Mike Glennon is not exactly a world beater. They probably were able to stack the box more often than not, and then they still managed to win that game. So I don't know. They're both very good players. I mean, that's as big of an understatement as possible. You could probably start them both confidently moving forward because there's nobody else to get the ball on Chicago.
So Sam, I'll let you go next because all you said was how good the Steelers defense was and not to play Cohen or Howard. What now? Because they shit all over their face. Like they literally were like, oh wow, I ate Chipotle last night. Here's a bunch of shitpotle all over my face. You idiot. What do you have to say?
Aw, you're so kind. That's what I have to say. I mean, if it doesn't go to overtime, you're looking at a bad game from Cohen, actually, though. The Steelers are good against...
he did nothing in overtime.
That didn't count. What he did in overtime didn't count.
Jordan Howard ran for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Without that.
Howard had a good game. I don't trust Howard. I don't think he's that good. So I'm not going to be a
Wait,
fan.
whoa,
Hang
what
on.
is the thing about the Steelers defense, dude?
Can I answer this question, or are you just going to shout?
Should I
you
sit
do
Mike
in a
Evans
group
week
text?
1 last year?
Yes. Lockdown.
Jesus, dude.
Sam talking to the microphone.
Everything Sam says, I literally do the opposite.
Sam, microphone.
I'm talking and
Jordan Howard was my start of the week this week.
I'm not a Jordan Howard fan, so
You're
I don't
a Pittsburgh
believe
Steelers
him.
run defense fan.
Andrew, can I actually speak?
Go.
I can't just kick you out of this like a group text.
Wow.
Okay.
Try talking without laughing.
I'm not a Jordan Howard believer, so I don't believe in him. However, it's true that the Bears have nothing else on offense right now. I mean, literally, Bellamy had nothing today. Deontay Thompson, trash. Sims and Miller might be their 2 best guys besides the 2 running backs. So at some point, we're looking at those 2 running backs. If they're in a decent enough spot, you're starting them because they're going to get a lot of touches. Steelers are typically good against the run, or at least running backs, but they weren't. It also begs the question, are the Steelers bad on the road? We know what Big Ben is like on his home and road splits. So could the Steelers defense be one that you target when they're on the road? Possibly. I don't know. I didn't get a look into it. But probably starting Cohen and Howard if you have them, because that's all that the Bears are going to use, it looks like, unless Trubisky starts and something changes because Glennon is trash. 101 yards today, I think it was. Almost no passes traveled past 5 yards. He's targeting literally running backs or tight ends. That's all you can start there, it looks like, and have some semblance of confidence.
So you repeated what I said.
Well, you know what? Andrew asked me a question. I gave an honest answer.
Okay, well, thanks, Sam. Appreciate it. Thanks, Mike, for being the original writer of that. We got one more. We got one more player we want to talk about. Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt today had his third game with one play, a touchdown play for over 50 yards. We're going to do a little rapid response. I'm going to go around to each person. I want you all to answer this. I'm going to name.
Hey guys, I hate to interrupt, but another Zach guy just dropped a ball. This time it was Crowder.
Oh wow.
Muffed a punt.
You suck, Zach. Fuck Zach.
Zach's the worst. Zach's the worst. Okay.
He deserves it this week. He really does.
Shut up, Sam. Okay, I'm going to name a player, another running back, and I want you to tell me if you would rather have Kareem Hunt on your fantasy team or that running back. And I'm talking dynasty, okay? Melvin Gordon.
Melvin.
Who?
Hunt.
Melvin.
Okay, so two.
Sam, you're an idiot.
Two Melvins to a Hunt. Okay.
I'm always an idiot. Even if I said Melvin, I'd have been an idiot there, right, Andrew?
Yes.
Guys, come on. None of this. We will do this later.
All right. Kareem Hunt, Todd Gurley.
Ooh. Gurley.
Todd.
Cunt. K Hunt.
K Hunt, there you go. Excuse me. This is a family podcast.
Right.
Not
family podcast,
not
guys.
A Hunt.
Okay.
Not to be mixed up with a K Hunt, right?
Oh, Akeem. All right, Josh, next guy.
Next guy. David Johnson or Kareem Hunt?
David Johnson over everyone.
Okay.
David Johnson.
David
Johnson.
Really? I'm going Kareem Hunt in that situation.
Hunt and redraft, but we're not talking redraft.
No, we're talking dynasty.
Yeah,
I'd
David
still go
Johnson's
hunting.
out for the year, dude. What a dumb statement. Jesus Christ. I mean, Tim, like, what is that? I'm honestly shocked that came out of your mouth. That was the dumbest you've ever said.
Can I say why Hunt? I'm not a believer yet.
Yes, I want to hear.
Go for it.
He scores on broken plays. Take away his 70-yard touchdowns week 1, his 70-yard touchdown today. What are
69?
Nice. But what I'm trying to say is, you take that. I mean, you can't. It's not sustainable. It's like trying to have like the Tyreek Hill. I mean, until they started giving him more touches, like you can't live like that. And even his touchdown today, Tyreek Hill was a 30-yard. It's not sustainable. I'm not one of those boomer bust kind of guys. So maybe that's why it's hard. I'd rather have the guy that you can have sustainable drives. All of a sudden, Kansas City, there's too many mouths to feed between Kelsey and Hill, and they still don't have a real receiver. And then now Hunt, I mean, you can't – it's just – I don't know. It's just – for me, it's hard to think that's sustainable.
Okay.
But you at least can use his name to come up with a cool fantasy name.
Oh, yeah. Like
that honestly –
what if you had Justin Forsett and Kareem Hunt on your team?
Force it to
my cunt.
Force it in a cunt.
Okay, moving on. Would you rather have Ezekiel Elliott or Kareem Hunt?
Zeke,
and it's not even close.
Okay.
Hunt.
Le'Veon Bell or Hunt?
Bell, easy.
Bell.
Okay.
Hunt's got to do more than 3 games.
Ajayi or Hunt?
Oh,
Hunt.
Okay.
Such recency bias too.
Yeah. Dalvin Cook or Kareem Hunt?
Cook.
Hunt.
What about his measurables, though?
Yeah,
Who cares?
I'm going to take
he can
Hunt
play.
there.
They both don't have amazing measurables, I thought, but I'm not looking at it, so I can tell you the truth.
I honestly don't give a fuck about that stuff.
No, that's not real. The guys who still worry about measurables.
I love it when I see that shit. I don't care about that. I want Hunt there.
Measurables and that matters if you're in a prospect, but right now, I mean, you're in the NFL. You're here for a reason.
Okay, Hunt or Fournette?
Fournette.
Again, I need to. There's a reason.
Give me Hunt, just because I hate Bortles and I hate that offense.
You do.
Although I will say this, that defense seems legit. So maybe I think honestly, I was laughing that Fournette was that Hunt had won a poll on Twitter, but I might kind of be 50-50 there. That Jacksonville defense looks pretty legit, so I think that could be valuable for Fournette if they can keep other offenses off the field and he just gets more touches.
All right, two more.
Well, here, this is the same argument with David Johnson. Sorry, I don't want to. David Johnson, he was a small school, drafted in the 3rd round. No one, you didn't think he wasn't the guy that was coming out of college that you guys thought that everyone thought was going to be the guy. He turned out to be the guy. So, but no one was anointing David Johnson as the next Barry Sanders 3 games into his career. You got to see more from Kareem Hunt. You can also argue that the Chiefs haven't played a good defense yet, and most of his scoring has come from broken plays. So let's see more than 3 games. He came from a small school for a reason. There's a lot. It's still out there.
Who did the Chiefs play last week?
They played the Eagles. The Eagles' defense sucks. The Patriots' defense sucks. And the Chargers' defense sucks. And next week, they're going to play the Redskins, and their defense is not good either.
Their defense is playing well tonight, though, so maybe they're better than we're thinking.
Well, yeah.
Maybe. Okay. Hunt or McCaffrey?
So far, Hunt.
Pretty easy, Hunt.
Hunt or Mixon? Last one.
Hunt.
Mixon.
Mixon looked good today.
Mixon's a better football player, in my opinion. I think that after this year, I don't think that Hill comes back.
I think the problem is
Mixon just gets such a workload after this year.
That's the problem, though. This year, you might want to take advantage and have Hunt for as long as you can. Use it to get Mixon when you can later on, and use Hunt to get you somewhere because he's dealing with Hill and Gio there right now. Right now in a dyno, it's got to be Hunt, but I think it'll switch back to Mixon sooner rather than.
Why don't you just sell Hunt for Mixon now? Hunt's value is likely not going to be any higher.
So
might as well ride it out while you can.
What if he has a bad game next week and people are like, "All right, this is the guy we thought he was"?
I think there's no right answer to that one, honestly, though, because you can look at it.
What if he has 2 bad games in a row?
Hang on. Here's the honest truth, though. In hindsight, we're going to look back at it as, okay, we should have sold Hunt now or we should have kept it, whichever one you do. Either way, you're wrong unless you play it like.
How can his value go any higher? What is he going to – if he goes for another 100 yards and a touchdown, his value stays the same. I feel like if anything, it can just decrease.
Yep.
If he goes for another 100 yards next week and scores a touchdown, I'm not going to be like, wow, I think more of him. He's already done it 3 weeks in a row.
Okay, but shouldn't that slowly but surely keep moving him up, though? Isn't that what happens? All of a sudden, this guy does this and does this. I'm not sure how far.
Is he a top 10? Is he a top 10 startup pick in 2018? Is the way you really have to look at it. And if the answer is no, he's not.
No.
So just some perspective.
I think he is. I think he'll be a top 10 pick.
Wow, that's
bold.
I think we're talking about Kareem Hunt, correct?
Yes.
Yes, I do think he will be. I think maybe not a top 10, but he'll be a first rounder, top 12.
Explain it.
So
Hunt, I just think based on his volume and based on the fact that teams want to build dynasty teams want to build around running backs now.
Yeah, I learned that. That's true.
If you looked at this past year, you had Johnson, Zeke, and Bell going in the top 5 around that time or around that area in ADP. And I think that if Kareem Hunt continues, I don't think he can sustain what he's done so far because it's been ridiculous. But I do think if he's a top 4 running back or top 10 running back this season, which he can easily do, and based on him being a rookie and being in the offense, Andy Reid's offense, has a track record of using running backs very well, I think he's a slam dunk first round pick. Maybe not a slam dunk in terms of.
So here's some perspective on Hunt. So 6 touchdowns in 3 games. 3 of them have been over 50 yards. A 53-yarder, 69 today, and a 78 the other against New England. 4 of his 6 touchdowns were in the fourth quarter, meaning that he's doing stuff. I wouldn't call it garbage time because he gave the lead to the Eagles and the Patriots against the Eagles and Patriots, but he's doing it when teams are worn down. What can he do all game? Again, let's see what he can do when he's not breaking, 50-yard plays for touchdowns. I want to see more sustained, more sustainable usage before we anoint him.
One thing that's important though is he is good out of the backfield too.
Yeah.
So even if they are down and they're playing catch up, I mean he's a threat out of the backfield too. And I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate because I'm not a big Hunt guy, and I know it sounds great. I mean would still be looking to sell. I still stand by. I don't think his value is gonna skyrocket. I don't think it's gonna go much higher, if at all higher than it is. What he's doing right now is not something is incredible. I mean, you don't see this ever. I mean, I can't see his value ever being higher. If he has a 2 or 3 game slump where he doesn't do much, I mean, people are going to be like, all right, there goes the excitement. Right now, it's like the excitement is so high. I mean, he's a guy you could probably get close to like a DJ Bell, Zeke value and not have to give in that much more.
Oh, I agree. I think you could honestly trade Kareem Hunt for David Johnson straight up if you felt
Yeah,
right.
I mean, like why? Like, why would you not want to do that? For me, if he has a bad game in 1 week or two, that DJ for Kareem Hunt goes out the window easily. For me personally, I don't think.
In Green Bay, I'm just saying you played there.
The Andy Reid running back, I think, is the strongest argument for him, just from usage.
I hate
running backs.
Go ahead, Andrew.
I don't know. I said this with the Sammy thing. At the end of the day, Andy Reid isn't running the ball for him. He still has to be a good football player, and I don't think that has anything to do with Andy Reid. Because I don't think Spencer Ware was super impressive last year. He had a game or two that he was good, but then outside of that, he wasn't great. I still think you need to be good at football. But with that being said, I also think that like his production just right now is just out of control. It's just if you can get a DJ type player where he was a guy that even him and his team came out and said they want him to get 1,000. I mean, I don't see Kareem Hunt getting 1,000. I mean, that's just like, how would you ever pass up that type of value for a player like that?
Well, I think my major argument with Kareem Hunt is the fact that he's so elusive too, and I think that's why you get those chunk yardage. I mean, it takes multiple guys to bring him down. He's got incredible agility, and like I said, or like Andrew said, his ability to come out of the backfield is incredible. And him going into his second year with a year of production under his belt already, I think that he will be a first-round pick in 2018 startups, unless he gets hurt. But if he I don't think he'll continue his current production. But if he finishes with a top 6 year at running back, I think he's a first-round pick in 2000.
Where were Gurley and Gordon going in the offseason, out of curiosity?
Top 20. I think they were second rounders. You know what happened? You know what though? Didn't do many startups. Any startups we looked at were best ball, dyno, and a lot of them were points per carry. And so I'm not sure what their actual ADP would be. I think they were still two second round.
Gordon was at the back of the first. You would see him anywhere from the 109 to the 201. And Gurley was also a little bit behind that. You'd see him at the very end of the first, maybe at the 111 sometimes, but he usually went at the beginning of the second around the 203, 204. So they were top 15 picks.
It stopped being cool to draft. Like last summer, think about how startups went. I think you have 12, 14 running receivers in the first round, or you get the Bell would pop in there. But, I mean, it's not cool anymore. And don't forget, Spencer Ware is only under contract. He's under for 2018 too. So he's got a base salary of $1.4 million, cap hit of $2 million. So he might stay there as like a backup. Then you got to wonder what they're going to do with him too.
Right.
You cut him. You got dead cap space of $333,000.
And you also have to think too that offense next year is going to go under a major change.
Because if Alex Smith is out, exactly.
Yeah, Smith's out, Mahomes is in, and that's going to completely remake that offense. It'll be exciting to watch.
They're 3-0 right now with Alex Smith, and that might be a little premature.
It might, but if you look at contract structure and if you look at salary structure in the NFL, you got to roll with Mahomes at some point based on the amount of money that you're spending on him being a first-round pick and Alex Smith's contract.
Yeah,
right.
What is Smith signed through?
I think this is his last year. Next year is.
So Mahomes will be playing sooner rather than later.
And you just have to, like you said, draft capital. He is signed through 2018. He'll be an unrestricted free agent in 2019.
Okay.
And at that point, that'll be his 14th year in the league. That just sort of becomes you either know you're done or you're not. You could become Josh McCown, or you can reinvent yourself as Carson Palmer. But I think, he's at the end.
Watch him go somewhere as like a 1 year, maybe 2 year stopgap.
Yeah, like Arizona. I could see that going to Arizona.
Perfect. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Let's wrap it up. Let's do our final thoughts. I was wanting to get a little bit more serious for this, which we've actually done really well tonight, keeping it on track. President Trump came out and bashed the NFL and players the other day, especially the ones that take a knee during the anthem. This sparked a league-wide protest of players kneeling during the anthem, staying in the locker room. Multiple front office personnel released statements going against the president. I want to know your all's opinion on this from the political side and also from the overarching aspect of the president being at odds with the professional athletes that this country looks up to. Even maybe they shouldn't look up to them, but they do. They're celebrities. What do y'all think about this? Mike, I'll start with you.
I think, if anything, it did a great job this week of uniting the owners and organizations with their players. When push comes to shove, the players are the ones that are making the organization's money. So if an unintended consequence was to bring owners and players together, then so be it. Everything needs to have a little of a push. So that's the way I look at it.
Cool. Andrew, what about you?
I honestly hate this topic. I don't really have much to say. I think if anything, it's important that if anything that this whole kneeling and protest is done. I mean, it's good to bring awareness because everything that's going on with this country, I feel like wasn't really, I guess, taken seriously over the past couple of years. And you have to kind of give Colin Kaepernick credit for what he's done. I mean, there's been so much talk about, a lot of the stuff that what he's kind of coming out and protesting against. And it's good that people are talking about it. And I definitely don't, support what the president said. I mean, these football players, it almost seems like he kind of made it that like their job is to play football and that's it. And a lot of these guys do so much work like in the communities. I mean, look at what JJ Watt did. There's a lot of things that people don't hear about where a lot of these football players go to like countries and help them rebuild them. I think that there's so much good in the league, and I just don't think that what happened, what the statement was appropriate. At the same point, I hate being political. I'm not really about really talking about it. But I have no preference. If people want to kneel or
people
whatever,
can do what they want. Exactly.
Yeah, they kind of can do what they want. I mean, we have a close friend who is a veteran who doesn't really have a preference. You hear both sides of it. I'm okay with people kind of doing what they want. I think that at the end of the day, if it's for, like morally, if they think they're doing it for a good reason, then that's fine with me. I don't think that there's people out there in the NFL that are kneeling or not going out for the national anthem and going out to be disrespectful to the armed forces. I would think it's asinine for people to think that there's people in the NFL who don't respect the people who fight for our country. I think that's crazy for people to think. Everyone has their own opinion, and if that's the way they want to feel, then that's fine. I think that that's why we live in the country we live in. Everyone, it's free speech. So if people want to think that that's disrespectful, they can think that. They can do whatever they want. For me personally, I think that a lot of the players out there, even the guys who the black athletes are out there, I think that they super respect the people who fight for our country. There's a lot of things that people never really document about the things that they do when they, the armed forces will come and visit. So I think there's a lot of stuff that the public doesn't see. So I think it's important for everyone to kind of keep an open mind about things, before they display their opinion. But at the end of the day, I don't really have a general opinion. I think everyone can do what they want.
Yeah, I don't care.
I hate 5 minutes of this, and I don't have an opinion.
I hate to rant. I just think that everyone should be allowed to have their own opinion. And like, if you kneel, I'll kneel. But then the next game, I'm gonna fucking stand. And then next game, I'm going into the locker room. I just want everyone to be happy. Everyone just peace and love.
Andrew, from Andrew.
The hippie from California.
How do we even know if standing's even good?
I don't know. That's the thing. That's why, like, every game, I'm just gonna switch it up and be like, I might kneel, but then I'm gonna link arms, and then I might not even come to the game just because I just want to protest. So okay. I know I ranted a little bit, but at the same point, everyone just be happy and stop the violence, man.
Okay, Sam, what do you think about what Sam's Trump said?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Sam, I forgot you're a Trump guy. You're such a piece of shit.
You are a piece of shit.
Wow.
Jesus, man. Like, how do you vote for a piece of shit like that?
Oh my god.
Uh-oh.
This is so stupid.
Oh yeah, by the way, I don't want to be political.
Yeah.
I don't want to be political, says the guy on his last words.
You voted for Trump. I didn't even vote, man.
Okay, Colin. Either way, you know what? Maybe the guy's so stupid that he actually found a way to unify people. But it's really stupid, though, because why are we trying to divide the country more? It should be finding ways to unify the way that a lot of the players and owners did today. You got to be able to see it from both sides. Got to be able to see why people are standing or kneeling or whatnot, and understand their point of views. A lot of times it's being made into an issue that it isn't. And it needs to be about unifying people. I forget the exact quote, but basically, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. People need to find a way to be a part of the solution at the end of the day.
Be the change you want to see.
Wow.
I like that one too.
Great words to end the podcast on, Mike. Well done. That does it for this edition of the Botch Pod Sunday Night Roundtable. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Josh Bennett, and you can find me on Twitter at DynastyJosh. You can find my co-host, Michael Vincent, on Twitter at MVTweetsHere. Andrew Frechette from the Dynasty Life podcast. You can find him on Twitter at Andy Fresh with 2 H's. And you can find Sam Feldman at I Am Feldman. Follow our podcast on Twitter at Botch Pod, and we're always down to answer questions during the week, so shoot them our way. Be sure to check out our work on FakePigSkin.com, and please sign up for our mock drafts. We are formerly the ADP mercenaries, and we need as much data as we can get, and we have not been able to get as much data without you guys, because you guys are our blood. We love you. Thanks for listening. Lifeblood. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on Wednesday.
And don't forget to enjoy yourselves and send those revenge games and those start-sit questions like Josh said.
Oh, cool. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Peace.
Boom.
Peace.
Oh, what a night. Late December back in 63. What a very special time for me.
This is actually a catchy tune.
Oh, exactly. That's how we use it.
I like it. Good choice. I moved, by the way. Just saying.
Shut the fuck up, Sam, and enjoy the song. Shut up.